$150 billion. This year, we're on track to cut it by more than 1.7 trillion by the end of this fiscal year, the single largest deficit reduction in a single year in the history of America. And the Inflation Reduction Act is going to cut it by another 300 billion over the next decade because Medicare will be paying less for prescription drugs, and over $1 trillion if you add it out for the next 2 decades. The point is this: there is plenty of deficit reduction to pay for the programs, cumulative deficit reduction to pay for the programs many times over. I will never apologize for helping Americans, working Americans, middle class.
Please
Especially
don't.
not to the same folks who voted for a $2 trillion tax cut that mainly benefited the wealthiest Americans and the biggest corporations,
Right.
that slowed the economy, didn't do a hell of a lot for economic growth, and wasn't paid for,
Didn't do
and
nothing.
racked up this enormous deficit. Just as we've never apologized when the federal government
Go, Joe.
forgave
Don't
almost every
apologize.
single cent of over $700 billion in loans to hundreds of thousands of small businesses across America during the pandemic. No one complained that those loans caused inflation. A lot of these folks in small businesses are working in middle class families. They needed help. It was the right thing to do. So the outrage over helping working people with student loans,
It's
I
just
think
crazy.
is simply wrong, dead wrong. Third thing, we're fixing the student loan program system itself. We've talked about this at length. This is really important. We're proposing to make what's called an income-driven repayment plan simple and fair. And here's how. No one with an undergraduate loan today or in the future, whether for community college or a four-year college, will have to pay more than 5% of their discretionary income to repay their loan. That's income after you pay the necessities like housing, food, and the like.
All right.
You currently pay 10%. We're cutting that in half to 5%. And after you pay your loan for 20 years, your obligation will be fulfilled if it hadn't already been fulfilled, meaning you won't have to pay any more, period.
Thank
And
God.
borrowers whose original balance was less than $12,000, many of whom are community college students, will be done paying just after 10 years. These changes
That's
will
too
save
long,
more
too.
than $1,000 a year in average for the borrower. It's a game changer. We're also fixing what's called, and this has been the bane of driving me crazy when I was out of office, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Now, this program forgives student loans to encourage those students who had those loans if they go and do public service. Think of the millions who are public school teachers, local police officers,
I know too.
workers at local charities,
And they
members of the
don't get
military
enough
and National
money
Guard,
off.
and so many more. Think of the folks who work for federal, state, local, tribal governments, keeping essential services going, responding to natural
Joe.
disaster, all those
Do it.
firefighters and cops.
Yes.
The program is designed so that if you serve in one of these jobs, and we'll be able to list those and you'll be able to accurately assess whether you do, and make your loan payments for 10 years, even if it's not consecutive years, your remaining balance will be completely forgiven. It's a great idea, but the
Yay.
program's a mess.
It's a
It's
mess.
so inefficient and complicated, too many people just give up. Think if a service member defers their student loan payment while they're deployed. The system is so restrictive that their active duty service didn't count as public service, and the loan isn't forgiven as promised. It's outrageous. Well, the man to my left is going to fix it. The Department of Education has recently proposed changes that will make this program work better and over the long term, much better. And now the department issues emergency temporary changes to retroactively credit public service so it counts and loans are
Yes,
forgiven.
make it count right now.
Since I've been in office, more than 175,000 teachers, nurses, police officers have been able to get over $10 billion in loan forgiveness so far through this program. But this opportunity expires on October 31st, 2022.
What?
So my message to all servants, all public servants, all those who are the ones who are volunteering, is out with student debt. to go. Here's what you want, if you're worried about how to do it, go to pslf.gov before October 31st to see if you qualify for public service student loan forgiveness. This is another game changer. And we're gonna have people who are there to help get you, help direct you and work you through the process. And one more big change we're making to the system is we're holding colleges accountable for jacking up costs without delivering value to students. We've all heard of those schools luring students with the promise of big paychecks when they graduate, only to watch
Ain't
these
get
students
nothing.
get ripped off and left with mountains of debt. My predecessors looked the other way for some reason, good reason, to do anything about this fraud. My administration is taking it on. For example, the Department of Education works with private education associations to accredit colleges and universities so they can receive federal aid. Well, last week, the Department of Education fired a college accreditor that allowed colleges like ITT and Corinthian to defraud borrowers. And combined with our emergency action,
Kickback.
the public service
They was
forgiveness
getting
program and other
paid,
action
kickback.
taken, we've been able to cancel more than $32 billion in student debt for 1.6 million borrowers, including those defrauded by the
It
bad
is.
acting
Student
schools.
tuition is
Our goal is
ridiculous.
to shine a light on the worst actors so students can avoid these debt traps.
$4,000 for one class. It's
Understand
ridiculous.
Not everything I'm announcing today is going to make everybody happy. Something is too much. I find it interesting how